Hey guys, Dark Prometheus here, and we're gonna have a heart-to-heart on this franchise. Over the past couple of episodes, particularly the 49ers episode, wasn't so much a frustration, but it kind of showed me how much the game is lacking right now. To the point that it causes a frustration because things are wonky. It's entirely too easy, and you have weird things that happen. So, for example, let's look at the stats for the season. Okay. Now, realistically, I don't throw a lot of touchdowns with my quarterback just because it's not something it's massive. I don't really matter about completion percentage, anything like that. So I'm not really worried. The biggest thing is we're at week what? 11, 12. So we're a little over halfway. For about four games. So at this point, we're at week 12, and we are approaching the 3/4 mark. So let's take that into account. And let's say that Fields gets his average of 300 yards per game. That would mean Fields is going to average 40, not 40, but 4,000 to 4,500. What I wanted to say is 4,000, 4,500 yards. The only teams that are the only quarterback that will remotely be there is Matt Ryan. So that first sticks in my mind as the rowing in this game is broken. 100%. Now, Fields, the biggest thing is since he has the touchdowns here, 18 and 12, and that's because we're not passing a lot. We're doing a lot of running with Fields. And this is also broken as well. So here's Montgomery with 7. Fields has a combined 22 touchdowns. He has 3 rushing, 263 yards off 30 carries. So that's kind of weird and wonky. Daniel Jones okay with the weapons, that makes sense, and so on and so forth. Some of the rookies, okay, this makes sense. Sam Howell, rookie. Trevor Lawrence, kind of makes sense. So, first of all is the yards. But how the awards are given out, it's given out by yards. So at this point, if you had a quarterback award right now, it would go to Matt Ryan. It wouldn't matter that Daniel Jones has 30 touchdowns and 3 interceptions because he has 2,600 yards. So that's wonky there, and how the game progresses the players, it is a frustration with how those points are awarded by the awards at the end of the year, and how it makes players that are 99 overall or highest not have a dev boost because the dev boost is already there. They're already superstar X Factors. But also the fact that in that aspect, those players prevent other players from getting better. So until they start regressing, until they start becoming 30 years old, or someone is drafted over them, or they're just not signed, you don't have rookies progressing, which is very strange. Like, I had to make sure the Jaguars didn't draft a quarterback here. I had to make sure. What was the other one? I had to make sure in the previous franchise, with our Dolphins franchise, we had a team building logic error where Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield were on the same team, which was weird. I had to upgrade Trey Lance to make sure they didn't take another quarterback. Washington never took a quarterback, which I found it was odd, even though they were in the top portion of the draft. They didn't even attempt to take a quarterback. I had to upgrade Zach Wilson to make sure that they wouldn't take a quarterback. So there's fundamental issues. I think in one aspect we had a quarterback draft in our Dolphins franchise of logic, since the logic in the franchise is the same between next gen and last gen. That's Joe Burrow had to compete with a rookie, and Burrow was only in his second year in the league. Like, why would you do that? It's weird. So there's that. It is a frustration on this. We've had some injuries, makes sense. The other issue is this. Allen Robinson's already 1,000 yards. I could literally get 1,600 to 1,800 yards with my number one receiver. Doesn't matter what team it is. If you have a half decent quarterback, you can do this. And that's all 55 catches, which means his... it's not here. Yeah, it is. Barkley, okay, that makes sense. The only other ones are Rashad Higgins and Van Jefferson that have more than 20 catches. These are guys that work in the slot, which Madden is OP in the slot. So we're using Allen Robinson with twice as many catches, and the guy averages 2 less yards a catch because we kind of use him all over the place. But this is broken. This is all hell. Touchdowns, okay, Devontae Adams, that makes sense. Rodgers does throw a lot of touchdowns to Devontae Adams. That's in both real life and that. So that makes sense. Another issue is this. So you have solo tackles. You have total tackles. Now this seems a bit more balanced with at least next gen, which is nice to see. Which is likely because of some of the gameplay changes in how the franchise operates from a gameplay standpoint, which has reduced this number. But we had in our last franchise where Roquan Smith had like 100 or like 250 tackles. Something literally obscene. Where he had 220, 250 tackles. And the next player that was even remotely was like 160. So that's an issue. Another one is I don't even feel like I have Khalil Mack on this team. I think the sack portion is still broken, so we'll have to go here. Nichols has 8. He had 3 in one game. Khalil Mack, I don't even feel like he's on the team with X factors off. But if X factors are on, Khalil Mack will literally seen him get 2 sacks a game, at least. Sometimes you get 3 to 4. So we'd have an issue where the game is tailored to X factors, but when you take them off, it completely destroys certain aspects of the gameplay itself. Aaron Donald at 9 sacks at week 12. I don't know about that. Whoops, hit the notepad. And we're only looking at the NFC. Let's see how bad this is in realistically here. Oh, it's even worse. The most sacks in the league is TJ Watt with 9.5. No one has 1 sack in a game. No one's averaging 1 sack of the game in the entire franchise, which is bad, sim-wise. Interceptions, pretty much the teams that we play will have more interceptions, but that's just me being the player. But I've never seen any issues where there's too many interceptions anything like that. Deflections, I don't even know why the stat even exists. So, I mean, there's that. Kicking, when it comes to the awards, it only goes by field goal percentage and how many you've made. Sometimes it's mostly how many you made. I've never had a kicker not get the award, ever. So, that kind of shows it there. Another issue, I would say, in the franchise is the logic of team building, which is kind of frustrating for me. Let's find a perfect example of that. That was an update I had to do. And let's do one that I didn't have to update or change. Okay, here's one. Kind of, sort of. Dak moving over to the Colts. Okay, makes sense. Well, why would you keep Carson Wentz? Okay, maybe a good backup. It's probably not the best example by any means. I had to edit that to work like this. Now, this is a good example of good logic, in a way, of team building, or at least the AI getting it right somewhat. Daniel Jones is in his third year at this point. Now, this would be even worse if they took his fifth-year option, because this would be even worse on paper. But with Daniel Jones, they draft another quarterback, but the guy is never going to play, ever. What I've seen in Madden is literally the team building logic here. Daniel Jones will stay on this team for 5 years, or he will end up going to another team and they'll draft another quarterback in that draft, or Slovis will play for a year before they draft another quarterback. Or maybe they'll sign a completely different quarterback, even though Slovis is up here at 73, and at least someone that's never seen the field. This is bad. This will be an example of a bad logic long term. Not bad short term, but bad logic long term. I had to change that manually. Okay, so this is a good backup to them. So they did draft here, and this is a smart pick. So it's hit or miss. The logic gets there sometimes. The logic is terrible. But then you have this. This is absolutely atrocious. Who did they end up drafting the first round? Is it another receiver? Can't look at that still, right? Oh, he's a 4th round pick. I could have swore. I think they didn't. This is the guy they signed 1st round, I think. That's their 6th round pick. Okay, here's an example of bad team logic, bad line building. Why I have to keep on going through it. So logically, these guys have upgraded. And logically, I'd have to go through the roster every week, to 2 weeks, to 3 weeks, and change this. Because Kasumi should be playing on the right side. Like 100%. So here's their 1st round pick. They picked him, pick 10. They had the 10th overall pick. Okay, let's keep that in mind. 10th overall pick. Howell, who was a good pick, is picked 9th. Okay. That was before them. They didn't even attempt to trade up. But you have Jaden Daniels here that's never going to play. And the Texans picked him in the 3rd round. However, they never attempted to pick him. I mean, there's that. That was a 7th round pick. I've had to change that. Looking for rookies. So you get the idea there. That is a horrible idea of a pick. And they're a perfect example of why there's no team building in this. Which is an issue because in games like MLB The Show, 2K, there's team building. And this is one of the things that's an issue and why you see the same teams over and over in the playoffs with it. So why do you pick Jaden Daniels here? You have a okay receiving core. They haven't attempted to remotely fix it because Nico Collins is on here with the base roster that we're using. So they haven't even attempted to upgrade the receiver position. Philip Lindsay's been here. They did draft a halfback. Okay. No attempt to really address this. Mo Alley Cox is an offseason signing, so they signed someone. Not upgrading the line. Still not upgrading the line. Still not upgrading the line. Who'd Nandi play for? So he's on the base roster. I think Hicks came over. So here's one of their free agent signings. Hicks. Older player. But then they already had Wallow. So overall bump, I guess. King Roby. Okay. Then they signed this guy. And this is another thing as well. Corners won't be used. And this is why I hate the development rate. And that whole system. I'm going to be putting out a video of the things I don't like in Madden. But we're going to be very specific to this. So there's that. And then the gameplay is just too easy. You can refer over. By this time I'll have my gameplay issues with next gen. Good, the bad, the ugly, the hopeful, the things I'd like to see in the future. That'll be up, and then hopefully I'll also have my by the time the franchise specific stuff that are an issue. But right now there's no progression in this league. Let's look at this. Okay, Bears here. Lions with Golf have been better. Packers with Aaron Rodgers has been worse. Rodgers was last in the division. They didn't even attempt to make a change there. They just the computer just doubles down on that whole entire thing. And the Vikings still going with Kirk Cousins. The Bucs didn't make the playoffs last year, so that's a shocker. However, none of the other teams got really any better. So the Bucs didn't really get better either. It's just a different slate. The Giants did get better. So this makes sense. Giants did get better. Washington with a scrub quarterback is not doing great. This is a rookie quarterback, though, and this is Jalen Hurts. The defense is not great. This makes sense. This makes sense. This is a very hard division, so this all makes perfect sense. The Browns 9-1 makes no damn sense. None. They went 15-1 last year to the Super Bowl. They'll probably do it again. So I mean, there's when it comes to that, there's some issues. I'm gonna end up just simming the rest of the season in the first place. So you can kind of refer to those two videos. I'll kind of go through it because I'll be using this franchise as a template. Plus, at this point, we should have, I think I will be here looking at it, but we should have a first look sooner rather than later of the Madden 22. We're just going to go through the franchise features because that's what kind of franchise player I am. Put the 8 today, so that's... So it won't be next week because I won't be here. It won't be the following week. So it'll have to be more towards July. That we'll finally get to see what that is. Maybe I'll be able to see it before. Who knows? Probably not. That's that 10-hour like peak you get with the game and stuff like that. And I really want to look at franchise features, things like that. Another thing that irritates me with this is I don't like the training aspect. I do not like progression. I do not like coach progression. I do not like player progression. It's not organic. It feels like work, to me at least. I don't like how... Well, this is like a boost. So this is a cool choice here. I think this is fine. These events. Oh, let's emphasize preparation or rest. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't do much. And I wanted to showcase that for an idea. For 100 experience points, not a boost to play, but you take a morale hit, which can reduce that for 100. Like, what kind of choice is this? I would always emphasize rest because it helps morale, and morale boosts overall, which makes all your other attributes better, which is silly. I'll show it right here. It makes all your attributes up. So that's not even a choice. But I got 100 experience points for progression for what? The team goal of 100 experience gives him 100 experience anyway. If I get a dynamic drive goal, I get more than that. Like, just being on the field in fantasy goals, just playing snaps would get me that. So I mean, there's no point to ever do that. The progression system completely needs to revert back to like Madden 14. We need a potential system that is dynamic. But again, I'll go in that more with the video. At this point, let's just sim towards... Let's just sim through at this point. I was hoping this would be a better idea. We do win that one, 24-21. I was kind of hoping when it comes to franchise, and I don't know what I expected with this. It's the same franchise at this point. We're just gonna upgrade all players there. But it's the same franchise, so I don't know how I would expect it to be any different by any means. But wholeheartedly, I expected after playing games that are to the level of uh, like MLB The Show, I expected something better, honestly. And here's one of the things I'm gonna say. Now, gameplay wise, 2K is just not my game. I'll watch basketball from time to time, but from a gameplay standpoint, me playing basketball, it's just not my thing. It's not a bad game by any means. It's got its own quirks, things like that, and I enjoy a little kind of dabbling in it. But at the end of the day, it's not my type of game. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say anything bad about it because in many functions it works well. But along that train of thought, when I play Madden, I generally like the sport more, but the game is just worse, and trying to rough through it is just not a fun time after a while. It's really starting to like push through the videos at this point, and I got a lot of other things I'm gonna play. I want to put out a couple of videos on Madden, what I think about next gen, things like that. But I also think developing a better system of playing Madden through play the moments might be better for me at this point until they fix this issue, all of these issues. That'll be in those other two videos. As we lose the Steelers there, we do make the playoffs anyway. What do you know? It's the end of the day. It doesn't matter much. This really doesn't matter. No, just have Allen Robinson out there. It doesn't matter. It's stamina. Why would it matter? Why would he have less stamina if we have a 2 week? If we have if we're the okay, the logic in this game. So we wouldn't have a week bye. But again, week 17 to playoff, that's a typical week. So why would he not have full stamina? That is very weird. So look at this. This is a different roster. You will see rookies. As you see the Steelers with the rookie quarterback do make it. There's no real shockers. I mean, there's Trevor Lawrence on the Jaguars, so that makes sense. But that's still a wild card team. They're not winning a division over Tennessee. Bills are the wild card team. Okay, Cam Newton. Some players in the sim, like Cam Newton, just break the game completely. Cam Newton breaks all sim games. Unless you're playing with him, then Cam Newton plays like utter trash. But for some reason, in a sim, it's just a team that is just ridiculous. But really, I don't see any issues with the playoff order there. The Browns going that good of a record, though, is silly. The Giants, well, it's the NFC least, so I mean, that's always up for grabs. Saints, same general idea. That division's a mess. Now, the NFC West, this makes more sense. Really, it'll be whoever competes for the wild card positions behind Seattle. But then you have a weird thing where I don't think they play each other, the NFC East and the NFC West, because we play the NFC West this year. So they couldn't possibly play each other. So they had to have played the NFC South. So that kind of makes sense in a way that Washington's here, but it really doesn't. Really, with a 69 overall quarterback, it's very strange. upgrade because it doesn't matter. We win that playoff game. We're against the Giants. I don't know if this fixes automatically, so I'll have to click that just to make sure. We lose that one 31-14. Makes sense. And I'm going to showcase how bad the logic is in this one. As well, going into an off season to kind of show this issue of the Bears franchise. Then, if I end up ever coming back to this, I'll do it in another save. Also, fixing Pete Carroll retiring might be a smart thing to do, EA. And what's the other one? Pete Carroll and Andy Reid in the first year of every franchise. Bruce Arians, that makes sense. Mike McCarthy makes 0 sense. Recap. Again, it would have been a Bears Browns if we made it. So, I mean, do we want the same thing over? Resign period. I'm not even going to mess with this because I'm going to save his new franchise anyway. Free agent logic is an issue. Why is Devontae Adams on the free agent? Why is Jair Alexander? Micah Fitzpatrick. Like, are you telling me? We're going to look at this right now.
Select the team you want to join.
I don't think we can see it.
Start your season with recommended settings. If you wish to change roles or adjust options, use the tiles on the left.
So you don't have cap space. Okay, let's see how CPU sign players. Players that'll be 1 year left in their deal. Why would you give Barnes this contract? It's one of your rookies. Makes sense. It's one of your rookies. It's also one of your rookies. Why would you give a punter $3 million like that? Ingram's one of your rookies. You signed Tonyan to an $8 million deal. What? Why? And this is team building logic, I'm saying. Why would you? Why? $20 million for David Bakhtiari? Is this legit his contract right now? I don't think this is real life. There's no way they gave him this much money. Wow, they actually did. Okay. That's real life. So they'd have an 11 million in space here. Kenny Clark is signed to that much. And this is another rookie. Darius Smith. So why? What? Well, I guess that does make sense. You wouldn't want to keep Darius Smith. That's a rookie. Or he was a rookie. So in this case, why would you keep Preston Smith? I think. You keep Zadarius Smith, but not Preston Smith. So I guess the move there does make sense in a way. Because you're not going to save that much there. But well, why? Why? I'm going to force advance. Because we're not going to sign anyone. And we're going to see the logic with the AI. And it's going to be one of the biggest issues the free agency has. There's steps. First of all, to put a hint in here, I don't like the week by week because there's no risk in this. There is zero risk in this free agent type. Like, I like the risk of having a time. Like, I don't want to go back to NFL head coach because you're talking about a different type of game because it's the timetable is day by day. So it's kind of different. But Madden had something like that in around when it was potential around 14, 15 maybe. Madden 14, Madden 15. And that was, you were high speed bidding on players. You had 2 minutes, boom, boom, boom. You just kind of had to worry about what you were. That was a great system to put risk involved in this. But there's no risk here. There's absolutely zero risk to this. So Devontae Adams goes to the Chargers. Jair Alexander. Let's see any crazy stuff. I mean, that's okay. This kind of makes sense. This absolutely makes zero sense. Why? This team building logic is so broken. Okay, Colts. Let's look at it. From a standpoint of safety, you have Kyrie Willis. He's a star dev. 26 years old. He's drafted Sean Davis when we started this franchise. He's in the base roster for the start. Then you had Julian Blackmon. And now you add Minka Fitzpatrick. You can't put on these safeties in the field. Why? And they added Richard Sherman. Why? Here's the better play. You have no discernible number one receiver. Why did you not attempt to go after Adams? Why? Or Gallup, for that matter. Okay, that's okay. So what are you gonna do with David Carr? This is another thing that needs to be fixed. I think Brady just left a team that would be a starter on for a team that he's going to be a backup on. Oh my God. Why? This is a logic issue. Why does Brady leave the Raiders to go be what will likely be David Carr's backup? Team building. 0 is broken. It's frustrating. So I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to save this under new. I'm just going to name it 1 because this. Seeing this and seeing an off season. Now, granted, in MLB, the show, it's not as refined, especially the trade logic. However, you can kind of look at the play. You can see a plan from the AI. For example, the trade Bo Bichette to the Cubs in our Oakland franchise to get Hendricks. Hendricks come in and pitches well. Then Hendricks, I believe he opted out of the contract to go into free agency. That's realistic. Yeah, they gave up Bo Bichette. They got a couple other pieces. But they had drafted a player behind Bo that had a potential, could be at least just as good on paper. So they took a risk to get some pitching help, and it didn't work out long term, but you can see the plan. When we traded for Jordan Montgomery to the Yankees, yeah, he was playing great for the Yankees. They wanted to trade him. But in the following season, we saw the plan of their pitching pan out. Or at least we saw the plan that they put on the table. Even though they got swept in one of the playoff games, I think. Or playoff series. But at the end of the day, you saw the plan. You knew what the AI was doing. Here, I have no clue. There is no logic in building teams in this. 0. Player regression, for example, is not in a logical sense. And I'll show you why. Here we go. Let's go Desmond Trufant. Okay. His speed going down, that makes sense. But awareness? Why would his awareness go down? Just because you're older doesn't mean you become less aware or less familiar what you need to do on the field. You become more familiar. Your play recognition goes down as you get older. But logically, it doesn't make sense because your play recognition would go up as you get more familiar with things. Case in point, Tom Brady. He's seen it all. His awareness and recognition isn't going to go down. His strength, his speed, like strength in throwing the ball, his speed, things like that are going to go down. Maybe your physical point, maybe your ability to put press coverage because you're getting older, people are getting, you're facing younger. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe you're tackling because you're not hitting as hard. Your zone coverage, that wouldn't make sense. Your speed would. Your injury would. Your man coverage, okay. Your catching now, I've never seen that. I've never seen a player get worse at catching. You either can catch or you don't. Let's look at something more weird. Okay, here you go. Throw accuracy mid deep. Okay, that can happen at times. Your play action. So you get less adept at hanging the ball off. Injury makes sense. Throw power makes sense. Throw on the run. Not really. And when your player actually starts progressing is kind of weirdness. Eddie Jackson, 28 years old, has an awareness hit? What? Come on, man. EA, fix this, man. Alshon Jeffrey gets a 6 minus in catching. What? Agility makes sense. Your ability to run deep routes makes sense. Your acceleration makes sense. You're catching traffic? No, you can either catch or you can't. Your release? Okay. Kind of sort of how you get out of routes makes sense. However, a lot of players get better running routes as time goes on. Yeah, it's just broken. It's broken. It's frustrating. I like to build teams. That's why at this point MLB is my go-to. At this point, so yeah, watch out for those 2 videos. I'm gonna have those up actually right after I'm done with this. I'm gonna actually get some of the footage together. I'll have the first one out sooner rather than later. By the time you're watching this, you will see that. And don't think that this is a trend that's different, because I'm not the only person that's had some issues. This is a longer video at this point because we did sim through. We kind of wanted to see the end of the season. Want to point out a couple things in the off season, things like that. This will be like crunched into a video, so go check that out if you haven't already. There'll be 2 videos. One will be more on the franchise side, more the team building, menu, progression, stuff like that. And more towards the general idea of what is in franchise. And my other one is going to be on just gameplay issues. Some routes are so OP and you can't avoid them. Especially when your coach called plays or whatever that it gives you, unless you're calling your own plays constantly. That some people do, it does make sense. That you get the same plays consistently. The quarterback for the AI throws the ball away way too much. Or throws it deep and out of bounds way too much. Field goal is a personal pet peeve for mine. The icing the kicker and making the viewpoint more deceptive is an issue. I do like that aspect where the meter disappears, but the view of it personally, it's yeah. There's a couple other things, X Factor abilities, just really breaking the game, so on and so forth. So yeah, go ahead and check those 2 videos out. Those will be pretty much out as soon as I can get them out, so they'll be out before this video goes live at this point. Because at this point I'll be on vacation. What we're going to end up doing is probably filling this time slot with more MLB. We'll probably do March to October. Kind of explore that whole thing. We'll do it with the Cubs. And then we might do that three player legend franchise, which will be different than the Oakland. Oakland will just play through all the games like we are, do a full game in sim, and that one I think we'll do more play the moments. We'll play a game here or there, and when we play a game, it'll be on stream, so it'll kind of be like a stream series in a way. So kind of hang out and chill. So yeah, guys, sorry if you actually like this franchise. I'm hoping Madden 22 is better. Keyword is hoping. And that hope is slowly fading. So, yeah, thank y'all for joining me. Don't forget to leave a like below, comment, and subscribe. We're going to end this on a high note, though. We get to put more MLB The Show in here. And we get to experiment. And we get to have fun. And we get to do some damn team building. I'm excited with that because that's my thing. I love team building. So I will see you in the next video. Later, guys.